All right, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. We're pleased to have you. My name is Warren. I'm the president and CEO of Traverse Connect. For those of you that I haven't met, on behalf of our board of directors, I want to say obviously welcome to everyone. Thanks for filling the room. We appreciate it. This is great to have. Obviously, we are here to support all of your organizations, all of your businesses, you have continued success, and we're thrilled to have the Attorney General with us this morning to talk about a very important issue for our businesses. So again, thanks for being here. It's great to have the Honorable Dame Nessel with us. We're going to kick off first with our local representative, Betsy Kofia of the 103rd. So welcome, Representative.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see the room full of folks. Thank you, Warren and the Chamber Alliance for hosting this really important discussion this morning. And welcome to the 103rd. I have the honor of representing the 103rd State House District, so I represent us in the House side in Lansing, and have really appreciated the partnership of the Attorney General's office, from everything to protecting elders and people with disability from abuses, to domestic violence survivors and witness protection, to consumer protections, and to protecting our businesses from identity theft. She has really been the people's lawyer, and I am really proud to have an opportunity to welcome her officially to my district and introduce our Attorney General, Dana Nessel.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me partner up here. Just reading Michael Hill from our Consumer Protection Corporate Oversight Division is going to be helping me out a little bit with this, because some of these scams are really complex, and they deal with those all the time in this division. So when we get to the Q&A portion, and we get in the nitty-gritty of this, I'm relying on him for some assistance. But this is only our second time putting this presentation on. We did it once in Holland last year, but we're just finding more and more that, of course, I do these senior scam presentations all over the state, and I find they're very helpful for seniors, especially now that I have an ADR card myself. So it's always great to get the latest scam, so that I'm like, that's great, I just got that, so now I know how to deal with it. But we're finding more and more that the small businesses are being targeted. And you know how it is. I mean, it's one thing to have, some major Fortune 500 corporation that can afford all the bells and whistles. But for smaller businesses, it's hard to navigate, and falling victim just one of the scams can just wipe you out. And so what we're trying to do is to make people aware of these scams, to let you know, first of all, how to identify them. Secondly, what to do when you see one, or if you fall victim to one, to make sure that you're contacting our department so that we can do everything we can to be of assistance to you. And just, forming as much of a partnership as possible so that we're protecting small business all over the state. So appreciate your time here today. I know that when I do the senior scams, I can go on for like 3 hours and a lot of them are retired. But I know that's not the case with any of you here. So we'll try not to go on too long, and we'll try to respect your time. So at our department, we handle tens of thousands of complaints every year. We respond to every single one of them. We do everything we can to possibly pursue bad actors when we see these cases and get the evidence together. But again, what we would much prefer to do is not to prosecute cases once you've been taken advantage of. We'd like you to avoid falling victim in the first place. So, we've been working really hard behind the scenes on some new public-private partnerships to, help reduce recidivism in the criminal justice system, and really to tackle employee shortages that businesses are facing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So these two initiatives that we have that some of you might be interested in. But moving on to the issue of business identity theft, there was a time, obviously, when only individuals really needed to worry about this as much. Somebody's stealing their social security number or their credit card, but now small businesses are being targeted more than ever. And so, in Undergo retail and manufacturing markets and businesses have lost somewhere in about 3.5% of their annual sales from selling to fraudulent businesses or mistakenly flagging legitimate businesses as fraudulent. It's a real problem. In 2023, the FTC reported it received 280,000 complaints for identity theft, and Michigan on average has about 73 reports of identity theft for every 100,000 people in the state. So bad. So while the FTC's data isn't broken out based on if the victims are individuals or businesses, the reports that we're receiving from our consumer protection team tells us that the bad actors are just finding new, novel, sophisticated ways to steal identities of businesses like many of yours. And according to the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, the deceptive activity of business fraud costs U.S. companies an estimated $70 billion every year. So business identity theft, corporate or commercial activity theft. A bad actor would use a business's name to steal its assets, its credit, sometimes its reputation. And it can take the form of criminals impersonating business, or it can happen when thieves file fraudulent paperwork and actually take over the company that way. So there are 6 basic types of business identity theft we think everyone should be aware of. Financial fraud, bust-out fraud, tax fraud, website defacement, trademark ransom, and material misrepresentation. So let's start with financial fraud. Scammers will obtain lines of credit, loans, or credit cards, or they'll create a fraudulent uniform commercial code filing. And the fraudsters, they can purchase big ticket items on your credit cards and sell them for quick profit. They can seize company assets and then transfer them to another business entity to be sold to an unsuspecting third party. And what we'll see is hijackers will masquerade as a business to exploit the business's reputation, and then they'll defraud current and potential customers of yours. So we see thieves also, they'll open up lines of credit or get business loans based on the business's identity and their credit worthiness. Typically, what we'll see, thieves will cash out quickly and go unnoticed until the bills and collection notices arrive at the door of the victimized businesses. And they'll leave behind debt, damaged credit, and a destroyed reputation, leaving that business to deal with creditors or the company being tied up in court for years. Now, scammers sometimes change the business's registration information, and they'll use the altered corporate identity to make online applications for credit from various retailers. And using credit reporting agency data, the thieves can easily target businesses with good credit ratings, or they find businesses that are no longer in operation due to them. Another type of financial fraud includes fraudulent uniform commercial code or UCC filings. The criminals and will file bogus financial statements and real property liens impacting businesses and entities' credit rating. We see that a lot. So here's some examples. So a Verizon cell phone account was fraudulently opened using a business's information, and the business became aware of it when they received a bill for $4,500. Another example, an employee's email was hacked, and the hacker changed the employee's direct deposit information so that the pay was deposited into the fraudulent account. Bust-out fraud. So it's a specific type of financial fraud that occurs when bad actors create a seemingly legitimate company by registering with LARA and renting office space and even setting up a website. Once the company has established itself, it can create more relationships with more vendors, resulting in even higher credit limits. And then they establish lines of credit. With more vendors, they draw on the maximum amount of credit or bust out their higher credit ceiling, and then they just disappear without paying anything. And scammers get away with stolen cash or goods before the victims usually ever know that it's a scam. Now, this fraud is especially dangerous because all the necessary steps can be carried out online in their entirety. And we've seen it happening with frightening frequency here in Michigan. Next is when you're probably aware of tax fraud. Filing fraudulent returns using tax subsidies or obtaining refunds from federal and state governments. And business tax returns are filed using stolen information to receive refunds belonging to the victimized company. And criminals use the EIN number of an active or inactive business without permission or the knowledge of the EIN's owner, so they can obtain a fraudulent refund. I'm sure you've seen this happen before. You can use a company's EIN and target even government officials, corporations, banks, bank employees, and they can do it as a response. Sometimes, you know, it's not even just about money. Sometimes it'll be activists that are involved. They're unhappy for some reason with that particular business. And you know, victims can spend years battling these false claims and might not even realize they've been targeted until they try to conduct a property transaction or open a line of credit. Had this happen to me where, you know, I have individuals who try to do the same thing. A lot of times they go to court to try to stop it. Financing statements can be filed to harass a target victim. They often will falsely indicate that the debtor owes a large sum of money to the filer or the purported secured party, and harassment filings have become more common. Past decade, more criminals have learned about these tactics and adapted to them in larger numbers. Here's an example. So, a former Detroit tax preparer committed tax fraud by preparing and filing hundreds of tax returns which contained false misrepresentations about small businesses over a 4-year span. The fraudulent returns falsely represented that the taxpayers operated a small business and included deductions for false expenses and inflated their charitable contributions. The investigation was conducted by the IRS criminal investigation, and defendants facing possible sentences up to 3 years of imprisonment, $1,000 fine, and a lot of other requirements. Website defacement, manipulating a business's identity on the web. Now, this is when scammers create a fake website for your business, or they clone a business website, and the content is then replaced with redirected contact information. Now, the criminal behind the site will take orders and money, but never provide the product or the service. And they shut down the site and they replace it with content on the website that is often inappropriate content that's just meant to embarrass the business. This fraud typically identified by customer complaints only after the website has been replaced. These ads are found and pushed on social media, and an example found on Facebook. Now, this page looks the same, and the logo looks correct, right? But the price is really too good to be true, and the font is off as well. And so you look at the URL and you see something similar, but the formatting is off, or maybe there's a character repeated or that is missing, and that's sort of how you can tell. But it's hard. I mean, it looks pretty similar, so it's very, very easy to mistake this for the real thing. You see it. All right. So it's just an example of political vandalism, the defacement, for instance, of in this instance of Trump's website during the 2020 election campaign. What happened was hackers took the site over, and they were pretty blatant in this instance. The objective was to make a spectacle of it. But website defacement is also used to spread misinformation or to redirect people to another site, or they might be asked to enter financial information for a product they get, folks will never receive. Another instance, a hacker defaced Bitcoin's website with images and messages that was promoting Cosby coins. A competitor, I don't understand cryptocurrency, I don't to this day, but you know, but we are seeing this, and in addition to the basement, the hacker also stole the users, all users' personal information and then read their private messages too. Website defacement can also include social media impersonations, like this one's my own page that was being spoofed. The reason that I typically know about it is because they'll be really like hideous pictures of me that I would never put up myself. And they will take like the worst pictures that I'd be like, who put this picture up? And then I'd be like, oh, it wasn't me. But the scammers, objective really is to spread misinformation or to intercept communications or even to ransom the page back to you. So what to look out for is verification, branding in the profile photos, and also the size of the following, and how many people are liking it. Like, what do I have on this one? I mean, I'm not saying like I'm crazy popular or anything, but if you see like 5 people are following your partner in certain general, it's probably not a good page. It's probably a spoof. Trademark ransom. So, we did? Okay. Oh, sorry. All right, so more what to look out for this. The date of page creation, the number of page administrators, the number of reviews, and also the location of page managers. Now on to trademark ransom. So registering the business name as an official trademark and demanding a ransom for the purchase of trademark business names. So this is the practice of registering a well-known company name or a trademark as internet addresses so that they can sell the name or the trademark back to the company involved for profit. So it's basically just a ransom. Registering internet domain names is cheap and it's easy, and anyone can do it as long as the identical name, including the suffix portion, the .com, .net, isn't already taken. And the company website is say johndoe.com. Someone else can use johndoe.net and then offer the same service or product. This may or may not be done in political circles. As soon as you find out somebody's running against you, and then maybe you just register a whole bunch of different websites using something similar. That's a new I've seen it done. So an example though here is online. Nick registered 663 domain names and identical or confusingly similar to Verizon trademarks. And 2 domain names included in the complaint were Verizon-cellular.com and byverizon.net. And as a result, now they're going to have to pay Verizon $31.5 million, and they also have to transfer the domain names to Verizon, and they can't register or trade any additional names containing Verizon's trademarks. Material misrepresentations. Criminals create a business with a similar name to another established business. So the name, the similarly named business will use its nearly familiar name to steal from either the company itself or from their customers. In Michigan, and this would be something good for us to try to get changed. LARA only requires that there be a 1 symbol difference. So all they have to do is add a comma or a duplicating letter, and then they can register that business. So the fake company's name is close enough to the real company's name that they can request credit, or they can just orders really without any red flags being raised. And once they get what they want, they default, they establish a company with a bad debt and solely their reputation. And in another scenario, similar, the scammers will pose as owners or executives from the similarly named company. They'll call or they'll email, or they'll mail correspondence to customers to collect payments owed to the real business. So if the customer is taken in by the scammers who pays, they may ignore legitimate requests for payment, assuming they have already paid that. And irrevocably managing real companies' relationship with customers and doing so, and possibly plunging the company into a financial crisis. So there's a few requirements to form an LLC or incorporated Michigan, and a person can attempt to utilize another person's name in incorporating documents or their addresses. They might use addresses of houses for sale on Zillow as sites for the business address. And Lara does not currently check the authenticity of a business owner's identity. And so, obtaining the court order to cease and desist, it's costly, it's time consuming, and eventually the fraudulent business can be closed by court order, but by then the damage is already done. These are some good things to talk to your friendly state representative about, because we have identified throughout the course of this, and there are things that Lara could be doing more proactively to prevent some of this stuff from happening. But right now, we don't have laws in place. They don't have the policies in place either, and unfortunately, I think that contributes to some of these problems. So we've seen, multiple complaints of this nature over just the last few months, and a fraudulent LLC was opened through Lara using legitimate information for company Texas, and the fraudster used legitimate bank accounts to open a bank account and link it to a legitimate company's business. They transferred about $140,000 in the company's funds. So here's some common business identity theft techniques. Ways that a company can steal, the criminals can steal a company's identity. There's so many of them, but they always involve the fraudulent use of a company's information. And that includes going through a business's trash and recycling bins for account numbers and other sensitive data. So that is something you can, work on and make sure that you don't have your information that's just being laid out in the trash so somebody can get through. And also filing bogus documents with Lara in order to change the business's registered address or the names of directors, officers, and managers of the company, and that can later help thieves establish a line of credit with banks and retailers. So something to watch out for. Artificial intelligence. I'm told that this can be used for all kinds of good things, but for whatever reason, our office we see it used in a lot of scary ways. So, in a new twist on this, thieves have been using AI to enhance their website spoofing endeavors, or to impersonate a company leader to request a wire transfer from a company's employees. So first, they'll gain access to a CEO or a CFO's email, and then use it to request that employees participate in a virtual meeting platform sometime. And at the meeting, the fraudster will insert a still picture of the CEO with no audio or a deepfake audio, which is really easy, as you guys know. And all you got to do is just get a snippet of somebody's voice and then run it through this program. Sounds exactly like that. I've seen it done with my voice, and I can't tell that it's not me when I hear it, because these programs are they're so effective and easy. I mean, you don't have to be like an IT master to be able to figure out how to use these programs. But they use those to act as though they're the business executive. And after that, the fake CEO or CFO, the fraudsters will instruct employees to initiate a wire transfer, where they'll use executives' compromised email to provide wiring instructions. So this is something, again, to be really careful of, and maybe have processes in place at your companies to make sure that, I think it's something like people don't even think about it. They're like, oh yeah, well, this is my boss telling me to wire this, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And if you want to have like a code word that you use, or something in place so that you have, sort of a two-factor authenticator. I don't mean that, literally, I mean a way that you're verifying something, so that's not as easy as a call that sounds like you, 240, saying to, transfer money, and, not having a separate way to ensure that it's really the person, because it's just so easy to, emulate somebody, and really hard for anybody to know that that's, occurring, because, again, it seems sophisticated. So criminals use artificial intelligence-based software, as I said, to impersonate people's voices and to demand transfers. This happened in the UK recently. It's like you know, I don't know, in pounds it was $240,000 and $234,000. And the CEO of the UK-based energy firm got speaking to boss and chief executive of the firm's German parent company, asking to send the funds to a Hungarian supplier. Probably easier to do when you have companies that operate in a number of different states or countries around the world, because with accents and all the rest of it, I think it's probably easier to fool people. So maybe not as easy here, but I mean, the caller said it was urgent and directed the executive to pay the money within the hour. And then the criminal was called 2 more times, asking for more payments. And the third call came from, another spoof number, and then executive became suspicious and didn't send a second payment. But we are seeing more and more. Check fraud. So check fraud is another financial crime that businesses use. I mean, people have to be really concerned about this because checks are used frequently by small businesses still. And I should say this just happened to me personally. Even though I go around telling people not to use personal checks anymore, I still do it on occasion. I'm kind of old school and sometimes I like to pay certain bills by check. And I guess I just learned that you just can't anymore because of the proliferation of this kind of fraud. I know that the Postal Service has been changing their boxes a little bit to make it more difficult to get into. But this is, like when I said this is a real thing, again, it's just special. Did anybody have this happen to them with the check that was sent through the mail and stolen? Okay.
Clients. Yeah.
Clients, okay. So check fraud can be used, can be perpetrated using technology that actually melts the ink in the tube field and the amount of check, and allows criminals to use in different amounts. And the criminals retrieve the check with the identification information from, the mailboxes from the U.S. Postal Service mailboxes. They'll fish out the envelope and they'll open those, and the ones that they think probably contain checks. And what we're seeing is that criminals have been targeted in the U.S. mail. It got really bad, I guess, at the start of the pandemic, and then it's just being a problem. It's oftentimes you see it's perpetrated by criminals that are working with very sophisticated criminal enterprises. It's not just like, Leo DiCaprio, Leo 17, running around the globe. These are networks of criminals, and they'll operate to infiltrate post office distribution centers. And they set up fake businesses, or they'll create fake IDs to deposit the stolen checks. The most common type of check fraud is actually check washing, which happens when a criminal will steal a check from the mail and again change the amount of the check in the pay's name. And sometimes the criminals will cash the checks in person. In order to do this, they'll actually hire people that are walkers, and those people will go inside banks and they'll present the fraudulent check, and then the walkers receive training. Sometimes that will appear more legitimate to the banks. And they've been known to be pretty aggressive. They'll pressure tellers to override the bank's internal systems when they flag something as a suspicious transaction. So, again, check use is definitely declined in recent decades, and a lot of people obviously paying their bills using credit and debit cards. But Americans still wrote 3.4 billion checks in 2022, and that number is considerably less than previous years. So the use of checks saw really an upswing during the pandemic, and with it, sort of instances of fraud. Early in the pandemic, government relief checks were the target of fraud, and the reports were that the banks issued approximately 680,000 reports of check fraud last year, and that's double just a few years before that. So it's pretty bad. In fact, like I said, it's gotten so bad that postal authorities and banks are warning Americans to avoid mailing checks at all, and if they have to, that they use a secure mail drop, like the mailboxes that are actually inside of post office. So the rise in this type of business fraud is really towards small businesses to take some additional safety measures. And one of those involves opting into a bank's positive pay services with a business checking account. So positive pay means you use pre-authorized checks for a certain amount, as well as the check number. And it cuts down who wants to go into the block of the check and draw money for an amount that isn't already pre-authorized. So that's one of the recommendations. Here's some examples. So earlier this year, residents and businesses in Allegheny County had checks stolen from their mailboxes, and every one of those checks was intended to pay for utilities or services. Checks were altered, they were made out of others out of state, and then the checks were cashed out of state. And customers contacted their financial institutions when their accounts posted delinquent. That's how we learned about it. So, all right, all this is very scary stuff. If you weren't scared already or nervous, you might be now, because obviously there's a lot of ways that you have to be, a lot of things to be concerned about, but we want to make sure that obviously your businesses are doing everything you can to protect yourself from, these types of criminal activities. So how to protect yourself from identity theft? Well, firstly, set up fraud alerts for your business by sending a signed letter on your business's letterhead to credit reporting agencies like Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, signed by the owner to initiate a fraud alert. You can set up Google alerts for your business name and common types. The common typos in your business name to monitor any online malicious at all. And just as consumers should protect their login information, businesses should be training their employees to protect their company logins and also identifying information. So your employees should be able to identify phishing scams, and there should be a procedure in place to address the issue if it arises. Good thing that just let all of the employees know about. Also, really good idea, don't use personal devices for business purposes. Try to use separate phones and get your employees separate phones so that nobody's using that person's cell phone to conduct business. You can scan regularly for vulnerabilities and other kinds of unauthorized access. And know how hackers use employees and their information to sort of breadcrumb their way into companies, government agency computer systems, and that allows them access to all kinds of company and personal data. You should be using paid products recommended by a trusted source. So FluxGuard or Visual Ping. I don't get paid by any of these companies. We just recommend them. Avast is a free option if that's the needs of your business better. We recommend regularly checking large business entity search, both for your own business information and any similarly named businesses, just to check to see if anybody is registered there. We can install antivirus and anti-malware software with automatic updates on all company devices. We have all kinds of tips available on our AG website. We just revamped the entire thing to make it a little bit more user-friendly. And that's at michigan.gov/consumer protection. And encourage your legislators to pass legislation to make it harder to steal a business's identity. Again, we kind of go back and forth with Laura all the time. You see this, and they always just say, well, that's not the law, what's found in the law. And, some of these are some pretty simple changes. Boy, I get tired. I used to say to Betsy, what seems like 1,000 years ago, but probably a year or so ago, this should be easy to do. And then it turns out nothing is really that easy. We're going famous last words. But I mean, come on, this should be bipartisan. And I mean, it shouldn't be difficult. Just have some further restrictions or further policies for Laura to make it not so easy for somebody to be stealing the identity of your business. It's not rocket science, some of this stuff. And something I look forward to working with Sophia on for better protection. Now, how to protect your business from cyber squatting. We recommend that you trademark your brand, regardless of how small your company is. Please don't wait and don't postpone this step if you can possibly help it. File a lawsuit under the provision of the Anti-Squatting Consumer Protection Act, the ACPA. Or you can use an international arbitration system created by the Internet Corporation of Assigned Names and Numbers. Be proactive about conducting regular web and social media searches for company names, unique products, or identifiers. You can go out yourself and purchase similar domain names and redirect it to the main site so that you've taken over as many of those domain names as possible that are similar to that of your business. Do not give outsiders administrative access to your site unless it is absolutely critical. Ask for recommendations from IT and cybersecurity companies on how to handle some of these situations. You can also visit MSU's Practical Law Brand Protection Toolkit that they have for resources that are designed to help identify, manage acquisition, protection, licensing, and enforcement of trademarks and other brand assets. Now, how to protect your business from business tax fraud? Well, you can check your business credits file often using Form IRS 10439P. It encrypts sensitive files and back up using secure networks. We always recommend that you use multi-factor authentications. It's such a small step to take, but it really makes a big difference when you do that. We really recommend that you invest in credit monitoring services and that you are regularly engaged in that. Some of these solutions are going to cost money, but for small businesses, I mean, it's an important investment. This small amount of money up front can honestly save your entire business later. So we really strongly recommend that you take these steps. If you are impacted by business identity fraud, you can report it to the local authorities as well, but you can also report it to the FTC. You can report it to the FBI, and then please call my consumer protection team. They have this issue, and if we can't help you, we're going to let you know who can, so that we're directing you to whatever authority you think is best to assist you. I do want to talk for a second about my new organized retail crime unit. So we started this unit about a year ago, and it was in response to a lot of things. We organized smash and grab thefts that we saw at retail locations all across the country. We didn't want to see that in Michigan. Purchases that were being made by stolen EBT cards, and Michigan had become sort of known as one of the top 10 states in the country for ORC, and Detroit especially. That was a problem. We were seeing stores closing down all over the place. It's also contributed to the rise in inflation, because products get more expensive and you have huge losses, especially by these big box retailers. And it's been a growing problem for a very long time. So what is organized retail crime? And this is not somebody who's just stealing a few items from the store. I mean, they're large scale, orchestrated criminal enterprises that steal from businesses and they turn around and they sell the stolen products online or in other marketplaces, or sometimes they'll just open up a facility and start selling it right from that facility. And again, drive off the cost of business, bad for consumers, because workers at risk. Sometimes it's really dangerous. We know that these organized retail crime rings are very lucrative. They pay for stolen items for it's pennies on the dollar, and then they sell the item, and often they'll still have the anti-theft device attached to it. That's sort of a key indicator that maybe that product has been stolen. But they do it over digital mediums much of the time, so we have to work with the online retailers a lot in this way. But we also know that what happens in Michigan doesn't stay in Michigan. And so, we work with the other agencies' offices around the country, and work with a number, with the FBI and feds on these issues as well. The Reform Act took effect at the beginning of the year, and it's amended the Michigan Consumer Protection Act. So it regulates online marketplaces and high-volume third-party sellers in these marketplaces. And among other things, the bills require high-volume third-party sellers to provide certain identifying information to online marketplaces. And it requires marketplaces to verify specified information and disclose that information to consumers. So we received an appropriation last year's budget to establish the organized retail crime unit. We're the first in the country to do so, which I was really proud of. And we're working in conjunction with Michigan State Police. We focus on prosecuting criminal enterprises, normally the ones that are stealing millions of dollars from local businesses, and our public force team. And so the unit, focuses on these crimes with pretty vigorous prosecutions, and also part of changing the law was to ensure that that retail fraud was included in the CCE statute, the Continuing Criminal Enterprise Statute, which is actually a 20-year felony, so that would be a predicate offense, so that we weren't treating this. Traditionally this was an ordinary shoplifting case, which is like a 93-day misdemeanor, when really we're talking about, again, millions of dollars. When you put it together, we thought it had to be treated more like a RICO case than a regular shoplifting case. And that was, we were able to work effectively with the legislature to change the law. But some of our recent cases that we've had, have been for millions and millions of dollars. And, we're actively pursuing a number of large investigations. And also, I'm pretty proud of the fact that we helped bust these home invaders that had come from out of the country. I don't think I've heard about this, which is mostly downstate, but they were breaking into dozens of homes and stealing millions of dollars. Now they're in jail, and all those home invasions stopped. So, and we have prosecutions that are going forward in Oakland County, but so more than just retailers, but also, personal homes as well. But, I just want to make sure that when you see this stuff, yes, we work with the big companies, we work with Sam's Club, we work with Myers, but if you are seeing something similar, then you report it to us, as well as to local law enforcement. We're trying to get the word out to local law enforcement so that they'll know that we have this new unit that's operating, and they'll partner with us. And we've been pretty successful in, for instance, the Canton PD down in my neck of the woods was one of the first local departments that started working directly with us, and we were able to shut down some pretty major organizations. But in terms of smaller businesses, one of the ways small businesses can help protect themselves is to be proactive in looking for and stopping credit card skimmers and shimmers. Skimmers are these devices I'm sure you've heard about. They enable thieves to steal card data, and then they use it for fraudulent transactions. And they're added to a card reader device to capture your information, and then they're designed to look like a traditional card reader. Shimmers, those are small, thin chips, and they're installed inside the slot of a card reader. So these large-scale EBT operations, they take advantage of smaller businesses who might not have their own fraud teams, and they install these skimmers and shimmers at the checkout points, and they steal their credit, and their debit, and their EBT information. And the FBI has estimates of around $1 billion in theft just from this each year. The chip cards are by far safer than traditional swiping ones, but they're not foolproof, and even today's thieves can target a chip reader as well as the keypads. So as business owners, you should regularly inspect your credit card points and then look for the following things: loose or damaged parts, alignment issues between the card reader, the chip reader, keypad, and base. Skimmers can be placed in an odd angle or cover existing stickers or arrows that are on the original device. Should look inside the card reader to see if something appears to be inside. This would be a thin circuit board that was installed fraudulently. And of course, gas station owners should always watch for broken or tampered with security tape on their pumps. So here's some examples. So if you're in the process of installing a new system or updating your equipment, I really encourage you to take a photo of your brand new equipment and then post them behind the sales counters that you have a photo to compare when you're performing your inspections. What does it look like before? What does it look like now? I wouldn't notice that, would you guys? But when you see the before and after, you're like, oh, somebody's added something to that. That's not how it originally looked. So it's really important to have those, and that if you spot anything installed that you didn't authorize, that you report it to your local police right away, and you pause transactions immediately through those devices. So that's our presentation, but we're happy to answer any questions that we possibly can. I hope some of this is helpful. I do want to let you know, I mean, you have a partner in our department that assists grade lawyers and also just caseworkers that can assist you and help you walk through and navigate once you had an issue, and then point you in the right direction as to how to best get relief. So we want to do everything we can to be a resource to you, and really appreciate you having us here today to have this discussion. And again, have to take any questions by that. I mean, you know more about this stuff than I do.
Sure. So my name is Max Anderson. I work for Honor Bank here in town. I'm a commercial lender. Thank you again for being here, by the way. Very informative. So I'm just curious, is there anything being done or anything that can be done to help expedite the process for people that have been victims of identity theft? And I think in my world, for my clients, we've had it happen, unfortunately. I had a client that had a fraudulent EID loan filed from Utah for $2 million. And when we pulled our UCC search, it showed up as an SBA lien. And so we called them and said, you didn't tell us about this SBA loan. And they said, well, we don't have one. So for 2 months, it took us to clear their name to a point where, the bank wasn't going to be in jeopardy with our lien position or anything like that. And we knew it was taken care of. So they had to sit there for 2 months and miss out on opportunities. Sometimes that means maybe we can't do the loan, so the bank misses out. Is there a way to fast track that process to clear their name once it's been officially determined that they've been a victim of fraud?
So I'm not aware of a specific way to fast track the process. I think that's why this information that we're talking about today is all about proactiveness. Because once it's after the fact, doing the cleanup, I mean, there's so many different entities that are involved in that process that they're each going to kind of have their own timelines. The other thing I recommend is, as soon as you discover it, make reports, contact law enforcement, file a police report, contact your banks, your credit card companies, everybody. And just, go from there and get copies of the reports too. Like once they're filed, get those copies, have all your paperwork in a folder so that as you're navigating the process, you have everything in a handy place and can, provide the information as quickly as possible to the agencies. And keep on, don't be afraid to call, follow up and say, hey, I reported this, last week or whatever, just curious about, where things are at.
Hi, good morning. My name is Josh Traeger. I'm a founding attorney of the True North Legal Group, which is a community center practice here in town. I also have a military practice where we provide criminal defense service for military members. And in that business, we find out well down the road when a scammer makes themselves out to be a military member through these romantic applications, like different applications. You can go on online dating, and then they create a relationship with someone, and sometime later say that they're on a mission or otherwise unable to be contacted, but they have legal troubles, and they represent themselves to be part of our firm or need money to be paid to our firm, and then gain money in that way. So it doesn't really impact my business on a day-to-day basis until I get a phone call from someone who's distressed, wanting to know if I'm who this person purports to be online. So my question is, I don't know if you have any guidance for business owners who have kind of potential clients or potential customers who are the victims of fraud by using this name, in terms of repairing the reputation afterwards, because it doesn't impact my bottom line, my business on a day-to-day basis, but it's the reputational repair that I'm concerned of. So best practices that you've seen or advice that you've given to Michigan businesses who are in that world, learning that their name is being used in an inappropriate way.
This must be really common. I was just in Madison Heights the other day doing, this wasn't a business oriented presentation, but it was a senior scam presentation. And a woman came up and said she's a veteran and that she's been getting these regularly. So this must be just an area that these scammers have latched onto, and that unfortunately veterans are falling for. And I think it's a good area for us to work with Veterans Affairs and for them to be putting out notices to Michigan veterans to make them aware of this particular scam. We do put out, we have our consumer protection alerts that people can sign up for. But since this is so much related to vets themselves, I think this is a good, we should probably, because they're regularly obviously servicing the vets around the state. And maybe we start with that to make sure that they're aware of these, especially romance scams, right? And that's how it starts. So that's something that we can do, hopefully in the preventative front, but
Yeah,
afterwards.
I think education really is the biggest component of that, because these types of romance scams can be so convincing and people can so easily fall for it. It really is about educating people what to look for, the signs of that, so that they can protect themselves. I think from a business standpoint, just thinking in terms of a law practice, if you have I don't know if you have maintained like a client listserv where you'll send out newsletters or updates or anything, as a part of that, maybe you could have here's what we will never do at this law firm. We will never ask for this, or we will never say this. So then that way you can at least get that out to your clients, and they can, if they hear something about that and they go, well, wait a minute, I saw this newsletter that said they would never ask for this, or they would never say this. And so
That's
I think
great.
would be a great first step in that.
And we're starting sort of because so many times it's people who are impersonating banks and credit unions, and that's what, whether it's with businesses, small business scams, or whether it's with individual consumers, we're working with the Bankers Association to start, really promoting this, your bank will never ask you for, so that people know, look, this isn't really your bank, or even, yeah, it is your bank. You should respond, and here's what we're going to do. And when I talk to Bankers Association, well, first of all, you should be posting this in the bank itself. So when people are opening accounts, you should literally be giving them a sheet of paper saying, here's stuff you're never going to get from us. So if this happens, just know it's a scam. And it's probably not a bad idea actually for all businesses to do that, so that, as Mike said, so your customers or your vendors will just already know these are not types of activities that you're going to be involved in, or just not here to go about doing, conducting business. But I know with the bankers, that's why it's so important, because it is confusing. Is this coming from my bank or credit union? Obviously, everybody here probably gets legitimate notifications from, your credit card, your bank, saying, listen, you detected some suspicious activity. And I guess the important thing is knowing, when is it really your bank? When is it really your credit union? And when is it a scammer who knows who your bank or credit union is? And I will say this, based on all of the data breaches that have been ongoing, as you probably know, you probably heard about the Poor World Health, not once, but twice, were breached last year. Didn't tell their customers, didn't tell the department, didn't tell us ever. We found out from patients, customers, who were now receiving notifications on it. But, one of the other major breaches involved, did anybody ever do My Fitness Pal, where, okay, right. There was a free app, but you're giving all kinds of personal information on there. And you're like, okay, I know my age and my weight and how much I work out or don't work out or what I'm eating, but right, dietary habits. But then there were lots of other types of information. Anyway, there's a huge breach. Everything ended up on the dark web. They were able to use that then to look for further information. But the Poor World Health breach, and this is people's Social Security number. service and stuff. And this is the most personal information that a person has is their prescriptions, is their, diagnosis, it's their lab reports. And then what we would see on that, and I know I'm veering off of small business for a second, but before you look, what we would see, first of all, you can do a lot of blackmailing and sourcing, everybody knows all of your personal health information. But also we'd see these fake billings coming to people saying like, okay, you owe X amount for wherever your last lab procedure was, it's not covered by your insurance, and telling you where to send it or telling you where to go online to pay it. And you really did have that test done. So it seems legitimate. And if it's not for like an exorbitant amount of money, maybe you're like, well, that seems like a reasonable amount that my insurance can cover. But we're saying because of these huge data breaches, more and more of your information is out there than ever before. And you maybe don't even know about it. And again, we are working with the legislature to try to have the same laws that they have in 34 other states now that, say that if you're a company, if you're a large company that is over, a certain number of employees, and you're aware that there's been a data breach and that there's customers' private information that is out there, that you have to notify customers within a certain reasonable period of time. And you also have to notify the Department of Attorney General so we can start assisting people. We also don't have in Michigan the same investigative powers that other state agencies have, and we're trying to change that as well so that we can be more impactful in terms of assisting people. But I guess that's just a long way of saying more of your information is out there than you have any idea about, because it's likely been already stolen in a variety of different ways from a variety of different sources. Because I'm sure you didn't know about that, my Fitness Pal app. If you were on it years ago, all your information from there is on the dark web right now. That's scary, but just letting you know, like, it's out there.
To go back to these romance scams that we learned about, I always feel bad when those phone calls come in, because I know there's probably 9 other people that just haven't felt the courage to pick up the phone and call me. So, it feels like that here's what we will never do is something that we can put on our public facing website, so that if someone is on the other end of that phone call or that request for payment, we can say, look, we don't ask for payment via Venmo. And so when they get the request for payment via Venmo, they know it's not us. That's really good. Thank you.
Put in a little more recommendation about positive pay and the positive pay on the ACH side. A lot of businesses, I don't think, know that those services really exist at a bank, but it's a simple transaction for you to tell the bank when you do a check run, give the bank directly the information that you've got, payee and amount and number. And that way the bank will check those against things that come directly against that account. The same thing happens on the ACH side. ACH fraud is also prevalent. And so you can tell the bank that you want your insurance company, your 401k provider, your utility provider to do ACH up to a certain amount, but everything else that hits that comes in as an exception. And then you just need to approve it during a daily basis. And so that way you've eliminated the ability of somebody to cash a check in Toledo on your account with your routing numbers, because it'll hit against that account and won't be put through against the account. It's a pretty inexpensive way to avoid those kind of frauds. I'd also mention that we've had a couple of good instances recently with the email scams where somebody takes over a legitimate company's email somehow, and the client gets an email from a company saying, we've moved banks, please send the check, the remittance, change the ACH information, send the money to PNC now, as opposed to Wells Fargo. And so all of a sudden you're writing $40,000 and $50,000 ACH to a fraudulent company without realizing it. Just simply a double check with that supplier to say, hey, on the phone that you're discussing with them periodically, is this legitimate? Did you really change banks? Do you really want me to send money to a new bank ultimately? You have to be very, very vigilant nowadays. I'm amazed at the ramp up in this in the last couple of years. I've been in banking about 35 years. I remember 1 or 2 instances in the first 30 years. It's just in the last couple of years And it's across the board. It's happening every couple of months. Somebody is being hit by something else. It's very prevalent.
Yeah. And I would say also, you need to train your employees on the phishing scams so that they're not clicking on that link. It's really easy to do. And I know that, prior to becoming Attorney General, I had a small law firm. And, for a long time, still now, I get emails that are just like, oh, here's an invoice. And I still wonder, like, oh my gosh, did I not pay somebody that I still owe money to? And also, I know I don't have a PayPal account anymore, but I did for my business. So now that I know I don't have one, I don't click on the link, which is again a really common thing. Obviously, the you have a package thing is really common. There's a million of those, but I think just really training your staff, training your employees so that they're not clicking on that link thinking that it's legitimate. And I will say, when we talk about this could happen to anyone. There's a common phishing scam like that. A hacker took over the entire Illinois Department of Attorney General. Everything. They had all the files. None of the folks who work at the department, this department, like 1,000 people or more who work there, could actually get in. And to this day, AG, Raul will not tell me how they were able to get that back. And, what again, I don't ask on a contractual basis, but I just can't even imagine. Can you imagine an entire AG's office in a large state being taken over all by one of those common phishing scams? Just somebody clicked on it and that was it. They were able to come in and take over the whole system. So just even like showing your employees, like, here are examples of when never to click, and showing them what those emails look like, it would be a lot easier for folks to avoid it and to do business like that. But thanks for the recommendation. They're really good.
Great.
Carla Shaffey with MSU Federal Credit Union, commercial loan officer. Kind of to tie into your question that you had, there's not as much protection for businesses as consumers when it comes to catching it and getting corrective action. Like, we absolutely encourage positive pay, but I think a lot of business members also don't realize ACH fraud, you only have 48 hours to do that transaction and it's gone. Whereas consumers, and I might be incorrect on the state, it's like 120 days, right? Is there anything that's being done potentially or can be done at a state level to encourage national level to get businesses more of those rights?
Really good suggestion. I don't know if we are working with any of our federal partners on this.
Yeah, that actually sounds like that would be a good discussion.
It would be a good discussion with so they're asking that we not call it NAG anymore for the National Association of Attorneys General. We're asking them all the time, but
Not to forget that.
But I think it would be a really good idea for all the AG's offices at our next NAG meeting, and to discuss what we can possibly do. And again, encouraging whether it's the FTC or other branches of federal government to come together. And I don't know if it would just mean policy changes or if we're talking about actual federal regulatory action or legislation needed. But that's a really good point that you make when I do these presentations to individuals. You can say, hey, use a credit card if you can instead of a debit card. And what if you are doing check fraud, how you handle your bank. But as you indicated, you're right. Consumers, it's great that consumers have some of those protections, but that's not the same for businesses. And so it is probably a really good idea for us to visit that. It's something that really has to be done federally, and obviously not, just through the state, but
Especially small business owners. A lot of them are running their day-to-day, they're out and about, very, very busy. They don't have the time to check every single day, monitor constantly, whereas if they have a controller, things like that, right? So if the support is truly for that small business owner, they might not get a chance to look at it until a week, 30 days, right?
it's not good, but it'd be great to get an email with all of that information, and I can start pitching it for our next national meeting, which is coming up soon. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
My name's Courtney Doyle. I'm here with Cherryland Electric Cooperative, and as I was watching the presentation, utilities came up routinely as a piece of maybe a tool where scammers get to
not necessarily the businesses, but individuals. And it sounds like a lot of the advice you guys have given is about education. And so I'm trying to think through maybe how to do a newsletter or something to educate our members to keep them safe from falling victim to these things. I was just curious, do you have like a toolbox on your website of, it seems like there's so many avenues that scammers can go. I want to make sure we cover all our bases before we do some kind of educational material for them.
So, like I said, we just updated our consumer protection website to make it really user friendly. We have the little owl caricature, you know, our emblem. We haven't named it yet. If you have any good ideas. But we really encourage people to look at this. But for utilities, I mean, you know, it's always the same thing, pretty much, right? It's you have to pay your bill, your power, your water, what have you, is going to be cut off. You got to pay right away. They need your credit card information or your bank account information or something. And it is really so easy. It's just anybody reaches out, says anything like that to you, you just take the information, be like, thanks, and then you call your utility at the number you know is really your utility, and you verify it. And it's the same thing if it's bank or credit union, or if it's somebody you do business with, whatever it is. I'm not saying that every time you have outreach from anyone, to be like, I don't know if this is you or not. But if they're asking for anything that is financial information or even personal information, it's just very easy to like, thank you for the information. I'll be back in touch. And then not to respond directly to whoever is reaching out to you, or whatever link is sent, or whatever email is sent out, but just to go always directly to the source. And that way you can find out. And also for people to double check and be like, wait, are we late on our utilities? And just look, when's the last time you paid the electric bill? And, look that up before there's that sense of urgency. And that's what they always want to do, right? I mean, that's how they get you. They create an emergency situation. And so I think the important thing for all of you, for all of your employees, for all of your customers, is just knowing that, like, take a pause whenever something is presented to you as an emergency, and don't respond directly to whoever has reached out to you, whether that be through email or text message or a phone call, or even somebody coming to your business and presenting an emergency. And I mean, I think that's always the best way to do it, but I really encourage people to look at our new consumer protection site. It has all of that stuff on there. And also just subscribe to our alerts, because that way, as soon as we're aware of a new scam that's out there, boom, you'll get that. Be like, here's the latest scam that we're seeing. And also to report it, even if you don't fall for it, if you report it to us, once we've seen a number of different reports, then we put out an alert to everybody. And so now, you know how to respond, generally speaking, to whatever the latest scam is. But this is just a way to know, oh, I know this scam, I heard about this. I'm gonna make sure to avoid this, and I'm letting everybody know about it. But those are just some basic rules. Please take a look at our website. If you think we're missing some stuff, let us know.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Bonnell with True North Landscaping. I know you gave a lot of recommendations of how we could protect ourselves, but what would you say are the top 2 or 3 that you recommend we 100% implement to make sure that we are protecting ourselves and our customers to the best we can?
I think the biggest thing, and I know it kind of adds to the workload with everything else you have to keep track of, but set a reminder on your calendar periodically, maybe monthly, maybe quarterly or something, and check the filings with the state. So you can check your corporate filings on LARA. They have a database where you can search. Check that and make sure your information is current on there, that somebody didn't try to change your corporate address to an address you have no idea what it is. And when you search, only use, like, if you have, like, whatever your business name is, only use like one word in the business title and see what else comes up, because that way you can check to see if somebody else has done something substantially similar. I know Attorney General Nessel mentioned, Laura's policy about it only has to be one character off. We have a case that we're working on right now where literally the only difference between the legitimate business and the fraudulent business is the legitimate business was just, so-and-so LLC. The the fraudulent business was so-and-so L period, C period, and that was it. And so if you were just searching, the first couple certain characters in your business name, you would see that would alert you, like, wait a minute, and then you can alert everybody. So I would say that, and it's just, monitoring credit reports. Another thing that to touch on, if you have employees that are working remotely, or, they take their, business computers home and work, a VPN. If you don't have that already, I'm sure probably as part of your IT packages, that's a routine part of it. But if you don't, I would highly encourage that because, are your employees securing their home internet? A lot of people say, oh, well, I have a password on my Wi-Fi access. Okay, that's great. Did you change the administrator settings in your router from the default password from the manufacturer? Because if you didn't, somebody can get right on your network and get right into the computer. And so, using the VPN helps eliminate some of that risk.
Is it really true, Betsy, that Laura can't refuse my secondary application for a new LLC under L period, P period, LC? I mean, that doesn't make any sense if that can't be changed this afternoon.
So I'm gonna take the Attorney General's word for it, having spent 5 years in Lansing, where I'm in my first. I think
Yes.
she's right, and it is something I'm actually really interested. Like you said, we think it'd be so easy to make a change in statute, but I'm very willing to work
Or policy.
on this to address that.
I mean,
Whether it's policy administrative, which also can transfer to departments, but if it is actually a needed change in state
I
statute. But I'll
think it's just a policy change. I don't think you need to change the law. We've looked into this. So,
We can take a vote in here if you want.
Yeah. So, I mean, Michael, Chris, let's hold about the fact that we've got tomorrow on that, because we've had conversations with that.
Yeah, and it's kind of an ongoing dialogue having with them, but I think they're reading their authority under the statute in a way that they think they're more limited into what those options are. And I think they're looking at a word in the Corporations Act that, could be interpreted to say, well, as long as the paper itself, they have all the parts filled out and the T's crossed and the I's dotted, we have to accept it. And, I think what we're trying to work with them on is like, well, wait a minute now, if you have a business that's really substantially similar, obviously you can't have two corporations of the same exact name. So we try to do that. There's a mechanism to deal with that. So if you have the ability to do that, why can't we do that when, it's just one character?
Even if they're reading it that way though, why can't they, and I don't know if they feel like they don't have personnel for this, but if they run it and they see there's something substantially similar, can't they at least contact the other business?
Like it.
Yeah, just so that the other business knows, just so you know, somebody's asking for this. And, it doesn't seem like there's no breach of privacy when it comes to that or anything else. It seems like that, even if they're reading the statute that way, there's nothing that says they can't do that. So,
I would love to agree with you that if it truly is about their interpretation of some corporations that the way they're interpreting that, they're saying that they have no flexibility, if it's a matter of starting or adding a word into the statute to clarify that. But again, it will need to be a partner. That helps.
I'd also say we have a very active government relations committee. Some of the members are actually in the room right now, whom we meet every month. We met this morning. We vet and recommend policy changes and legislative changes, work very closely with our legislators. So if we can be a resource to get the ball moving and push those things. We also represent the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance. So that's 17 chambers and economic development organizations, 7,500 member businesses. So we can speak kind of with one voice if these things are coming up, either at the regulatory level or in the legislature.
yeah. Right, great.
We probably have time for maybe 3 more questions for 15 minutes, so yeah.
Yeah, in the back.
Not so much a question, but just something you touched upon that I think is really just a great practice with that hesitancy of, Donald Carter, Forefront Credit Union, branch manager, loan officer, but the hesitancy to ask questions, and sometimes even allowing ourselves to be challenged in that realm, to just really encourage that with everyone around you, those patrons that you have, because there's just such that hesitancy. I don't want to ask a question. I don't understand. I don't want to offend somebody. it helps a lot of times from what I've seen for people to avoid scams. Because they're asking up questions, sometimes the scammer gets tired, gets up. Other times they get an understanding and realize, hey, you know what? This doesn't sound right. I need to do something different. Calling a number, an email, something that they are familiar with to make sure and let them know that's okay. You want to call me directly, make sure that it was me, that is the institution. And then those multi-factors, ways of verifying. And that's an easy one, is the traffic number. They got your email, some way to contact.
Yeah, and I think just of reminding people too about spoofing, both for, caller ID and for email address spoofing. It's so easy, it happens so often, it's unfortunately perfectly legal. And, I had an instance, like, I think people feel like, I should be smarter to catch something and not understand just how sophisticated and how everybody falls for it. But I actually had a friend of mine, she's a cardiologist, and, we went to high school together, she graduated at the top of our class, and very, very smart woman. But she was like, I'm on the phone, like, the state of Michigan called me, and they're saying that, that my license is gonna be suspended for, whatever kind of activity, and I have to go, and I have to send in, I have to wire some money over, or whatever. And I was like, I'm gonna check for you with Laura to see if there's an issue with your medical license. But, it said state of Michigan was sent to her. There was a link that was attached. It went to a site that looked exactly like Laura's website. Because if you click on that link and you're not going directly to the site, it's gonna look just like Laura. I mean, really sophisticated. And the whole thing was like, it was so crazy how real it was. And again, these scammers and the great lengths that they went to in order to create an identical looking website. And that's why, it seems so real, but to remind people, like, anything can be spoofed. And that's why when you're getting asked for this stuff, just like you said, like, don't be afraid to say, thank you for the information. I'm going to now reach out directly and then go to the website that they know is the real website, or again, call the number that you know is affiliated with that business or that, that government agency, whoever it is. Because if it comes in directly to you, again, just because it says it on your caller ID, I think people have to learn to not at all trust their caller ID, and not even to trust when you're getting those emails in that is the actual link. You always get used to reaching out separately for payment or when it's, protected information.
I will mention too, because I haven't heard it mentioned yet. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Jamie Kramer. Earthly After is my business. I'm also a Lebanon County Commissioner. I was scammed. I felt really stupid about the whole thing. It was on Facebook, and it was my small, our business, and they said that they were going to close the account. And they linked to another thing that looked exactly like a Facebook account and asked me for my driver's license. And that sense of urgency kicked in immediately after, of course not before, I sent it. I had that sinking feeling. And you can Google it. If you Google it, a lot of the times other people have suffered these scams. And and so immediately I found out it was a scam. I closed all of the big credit bureaus, and not closed, but no, hold on. And then also reported it. What else can we do in the aftermath of just, said scam? Because I didn't know exactly what to do. I just did what came to mind first. Do you guys have any suggestions on that, or how that should function?
Well, definitely change all your passwords.
Yes, did that as well, yes.
Just a reminder, if your password is password, they're on you.
Yeah, I would say don't feel bad because there was an Apple scam and I got an email. It looked legitimate and it said my card was declined for payment of an app I subscribed to, and it was the exact app I had subscribed to. And I'm like, how the heck would a scammer know what I'm subscribing to? And just wanted me,
My fitness pal?
no, it wasn't my fitness pal. It was BTN Plus. It's the only way I can watch college hockey anymore. And I was really, I just happened to Google it. Like if I had and found out that was a scam. So I mean, it's a great way to figure it out because I was very, very close to putting my Apple password into that link to try and put in a new credit card.
I wasn't gonna fall, it was too scary. But you know, we had, and this could happen in your business, this happened at my home. So I have ABC, which everyone knows, because I have a big sign up that's like ABC. You know, they came in and said, we are a vendor for ABC, we have to, we're changing out your keypad, to update it. And I was like, whoa, I don't feel comfortable. Like, this is my security system and I don't know you. And so even before I contacted my department, I was like, God, what if I didn't have a department? I could contact my like, look at this. But I Googled it right away. Boom, talked about the scam. There were actually some news articles about it. And that's pretty scary. Can you imagine somebody now that can get your security system? So, but yeah, that was the very first thing I did and it popped up right away. So anytime it seems weird, I mean, it is a good idea to do that. Or you can contact our department personally.
This might have to be the last question.
Oh, I'm sorry, you got something to that.
I'm Carla Weaver. I own a small vintage furniture store, and just to compound what she's saying, and a lot of my friends who own the businesses on Front Street are several times daily, using social media for our sole marketing and advertising. And we are getting all the time, 4 or 5 times a week, these exact hits on our social media saying, oh my gosh, your account is being deleted. You better fix this right away. Send us whatever information it is. We're all doing this. And I mean, I know it now because we Googled it after, I was freaked out going, what's going to happen? And all my advertising is gone and my entire account for 10 years is gone. What can we do? Do you have any information, any advice on your site? Thoughts?
Facebook.
And
It's all
Instagram,
Facebook. It's
all of
a
it.
disaster.
Yeah. But it works. I'm sorry, I sell stuff 10 times a week on it.
Oh, yeah.
So do you mean when you say it works, like it makes you sufficiently nervous that there's a problem and there's not a problem, or?
It works. I make money using it.
Oh, I see.
So I don't want to quit using it.
Right.
And I know that all of my other business friends feel the same way. We talk about it a lot.
Yeah. Again, Facebook. It's a Facebook issue because I tell you what, there are really a ton of just spoof sites on Facebook. I even found one because both my sons wanted Aiden Hutchinson jerseys for Christmas, and
You're raising them right.
Yeah.
and so we found a Fanatic. It looked like the Fanatic site where they sell them, but it was a spoof website. And the only way you could figure that out is because the email address to contact the customer support was a Gmail address, and so you see that right away. And okay, but the best thing you can do is just secure your own business accounts. I know Facebook has a form of 2-factor authentication.
Yeah.
They have the Authenticator app. I recommend doing that. And if you see something, report it.
It's like whack-a-mole at this point. It is daily.
Yeah.
Facebook pages down pretty quickly, working with Meta to do that.
Yeah, well, and even web hosts, like if you report that to us and there's even if maybe your efforts were unsuccessful, we can reach out to whoever's hosting that domain and say, look, this is clearly fake. And yeah, we have had success with web hosting, getting fraudulent websites taken down. So
I think you're talking about like sometimes the messages that come in that look like they're official, saying, you violated your policy, something. And so sometimes it's hard to try to figure out what was it real and
Sometimes it's comments and sometimes it is direct messages to my business. It can be both. Yeah.
My wife has a small business and she was successful and everything is fraudulent.
Yeah.
And it did start minimizing that. And if it's legitimate, they'll let you know. And you can reach out to them at that point. I would just keep hitting those fraudulent every time you go.
Yeah, I would say contact Facebook. Don't use whatever's in the message or email to contact them. Independently search Facebook and find out how to contact them. Just say, hey, you know, did you do this? Is this real?
With no one governing the internet, you say you can record it and you like, where do you guys go for like international issues? Right, because I've actually had my website for my business copied for the last 8 years internationally, and they're scamming internationally, interpreting me. Is there, like, you put up the FBI, like, will they actually take that and do anything with it? Because I've had customers that are people that have been scammed, report it to the FBI, but like this happens every month or every couple of months. Like with you say to bring it to you, but where does it go or what can actually be done? And I know you wanted to end, but to add to hers with the consumer protection, like chargebacks. We've seen a lot more chargebacks, fighting the charge on the credit card itself for legitimate services. And as a business owner, you don't have a lot of protections. Like the consumer's kind of always right when it comes to credit cards. So that'd be another thing to add to hers was like, there's no protection for us as a business when they're like, oh, I'm disputing that service. And like that service was performed, but they're still getting their money back. Like, so there's no protection there either. But the big, the first one, like, where does it go?
Yeah, and I think unfortunately with the credit card example, that's largely, specific with credit card companies, some are going to be different from others. And it's all about the terms of the agreement. When you agree to have the terminal to accept the card. And I think that's largely governed federally. It's all banking law, so it's all federally. That might be something to reach out to, your federal legislators about.
Have we had any luck when we, for businesses, the FBI, and found, there's some that's happened overseas that obviously you don't have jurisdiction.
Right.
I
I don't have a specific example. I can cite off of that, but
There was an example in the PowerPoint where the FBI did things. So it does happen.
We appreciate everyone being here. Thank you.
Should reach out to our office if you have more suggestions or issues, and we can have that dialogue. And we can start working, I'm always open at a work group of whatever sort, working with our legislative partners and also our national partners as well. So thanks for being here and appreciate the time. Thank you.
As everyone's leaving, on March 20th, we are hosting an event at the Haggerty Center on cybersecurity. More information on the website.
Amen. I'm Josh. I'm connected on LinkedIn a number of months ago. Yeah, I needed to message